The recent assassination attempt on Trump's life has raised serious concerns, and we're going to talk about that later on. Right now, there's something really important I feel like you guys need to understand. Why is it that several Democrats are now voting Republican? This video is going to test your skills of why people are truly voting Trump. You won't believe it. Though many of the people that are voting Trump are voting to save America, they really do not know the extent of why a lot of people are voting Trump. And just recently, I've come across a senator that I was not aware of from North Carolina, one of the few people that are finally in a leadership role that understands what Americans are fighting against and for. Our government and our media has been so deceitful for so long that it's time that the people finally wake up and know the truth. That you cannot trust media, no matter what. You cannot trust your government leaders right now. None of them, the majority of them, are all corrupt. Political leaders are now going into this in order to gain power and money. And the biggest problem with that is they could care less on how the working class American family is doing. In order for you to completely understand at least part of where I want you to go first, the economy, you must first recognize the lies. We're about to find out just how much you are awake. Prepare yourselves as you are about to be unplugged from the machine. This world that you believe that you live in, but you do not. We have to jump back to the first time I ever woke up, when I realized that everything that we knew through the media, through our government, through our leaders, was all false. We have lived under the illusion for decades that the working class matter, but that is untrue. Our leaders are getting richer and richer by the second, and they are doing it off the working class tears. We must understand how this started. 1993 to 1999. The illusion that you think that you have a choice in which direction America goes based off the president elected. President Clinton, the man with the charisma that's hard to refuse, took office and tore up the United States by introducing NAFTA. We elected Bush, the Republican, to fight the damage that had been done, but only found out that he didn't care either. We watched the media as we felt that we were falling apart, that things just weren't working out for the working class. We are struggling, and it's not the first time or the last. After NAFTA passed, we see all of our factories shipping out secretly, one by one. The only people that knew about it were the people that worked in the factories. Where were these factories shipping out to? Well, they were shipping out to places like Mexico, India, China, just to name a few. Families were in tears because a lot of these areas, that's all they had for work were the factories. They watched the news, did not see anything mentioned about it. Just as always, the media says, there's nothing to see here, there's no problems, there's nothing to worry about, no recession, and nobody sees what's happening to the factories. But in time, there was consequences for those factories leaving, and Americans were losing everything. They were losing their homes, their livelihood. What the heck is going on? I thought we hired and elected our political leaders to protect us and to look out for us. But they weren't doing that. They were looking out for someone else. And that someone else is filling their pockets. How did they handle that once somebody starts to catch on? Well, once so many houses were being lost, they started shaming the American people, told them that they were living above their means. that all these troubles falling upon the entire nation, which they didn't mention, was brought on because they had too much credit card debt. So Americans were ashamed to mention to their neighbors, to their friends, that they were losing their homes and that they were struggling. This worked out perfectly. When Americans are ashamed, they don't talk. And if they don't talk, then they can't unite and they can't share the truth. The next step was, instead of talking, they listened for the next candidate, which government knew that they would be looking for, that would speak about saving their homes, because there were so many people losing their own homes, their American dreams. Who would be that perfect candidate? Well, somebody fresh and new, which they knew American people were looking for. Obama. Obama stood in front of the people and told them exactly what they wanted to hear. He would solve and take care of all their pain. He would do things like house modifications to save the homes of over 14 million people. Meanwhile, your leaders are up there preaching for you, so you think. People like Elizabeth Warren, Obama, hundreds of other government insiders. They preach how they are against the banks and for the people, yet their actions do not reflect their words. Depending on what news source that you look at, you won't get the truth anyways. By 2006, it was over 53% increase of foreclosed homes. While you have senators like Elizabeth Warren and Obama, Clinton, hundreds more guys, like I said, they're preaching against these big banks, yet their assets are growing. They own lots and lots of homes. They go out on stage with their fancy speeches, but what they don't tell you is that the biggest investment for investors is purchasing land and purchasing homes. Land is the new gold in America. Senators are playing one big, realistic monopoly game. You won't see it in their personal records because they've learned how to get around that. They know how to hide their assets while they continue to push the illusion that they care about us, the working class people. During the big recession, which was really a depression, senators gained a lot of money, working with banks, for banks, working with foreigners to sell those cheap houses. People like Blackstone bought around 45,000 homes alone. And so when Obama promised to help Americans save their homes, they voted for him. While it's true, he did offer a program, a home modification program, saying that you could fill out this application and save your home. That was a complete lie. You could fill out those applications 100 billion times. They wouldn't respond, or you would be refused. Not one home modification went through for the regular working class Americans. They continued to use media to hide the truth that they weren't pushing them out too hard. They were waiting for them to move on their own. They refused to take their payments. For those who wanted to catch up and continue, they refused. One of the most hated banks in America was Bank of America. And as soon as people could, as time passed and they started to get past this recession, which was years and years later, they started making it known how they hated the Bank of America, how their government, especially Obama, let them down. But anywhere that they would post it, they would be blocked or deleted. They were able to control the narrative by closing our mouths. They used our schools and our colleges to spread lies and to keep our children from knowing the truth. Most of all, they didn't want their children, our children, to trust us. Obama was the final straw where people didn't want any more politicians. We weren't alone seeing what they were doing to our nation. They were taking our jobs, taking our homes, taking everything. Trump decided he couldn't let this happen to us anymore and decided to run for president. Immediately, Donald Trump would have the fight of his life. Donald Trump, who was rich, had everything any man could want, power, you name it, was going to sacrifice to run, and he knew that it would be sacrifice, but he had no idea how much sacrifice it would be. He had no idea how big the fight would turn. Immediately, Democrats refused to let Trump run on their card. The only card he had left was the Republican card, because Trump had mostly leaned towards Democrats. Long story short, they gave him hell from the beginning until the end. The American people have trusted this system for too long. You can't trust the banks. You can't trust politicians. And the first thing you have to do is to quit watching media. Talk to your neighbors. Be more community involved. Don't allow the media and the government to continue to separate you. Because the minute that you see them trying to separate or create hate, it's a distraction, a way to keep control. They cannot win unless you guys are split up. If you are unified, you have more power than everyone in this nation. As though Trump didn't face enough between being accused of, well, basically making plans for Russia, being a racist, a bigot, deplorable, a cult leader. He has had to fight not only politicians, but celebrities who are all making money by getting tips from politicians off of what the chaos that they create in this nation. They're not building our nation for the better. They're destroying it for their pockets. If you see a politician that is rich, don't elect them again. Now, you have a short version, a dumbed down version of what in the world America is thinking when they want to vote for Trump. They're fighting for you. They're fighting for us. And they can't do it alone. There was only one man that had the power to help them. That is Donald Trump, who would step up and take on the heat. They continued to take Trump down when he said he was going to run for president a second time. They tried to put him in jail, press charges. And why would someone hate a man that has nothing in their background to really hate so much, unless he was going to do something to hurt them in their pockets? Since Trump has been in office, there's been quite a big change of the type of people coming into the political world. Ted Cruz of Texas has been bold and intelligent when fighting the corrupt government, though he can't really do much. Sarah Huckabee has been one of the biggest examples to follow when it comes to fighting for the country. She has done amazing things for her state to secure Americans' future. New to the scene, who seems to be a man to trust, is Mark Robinson. Only Mark and JD mentioned what hurt America quite a bit, and that was NAFTA. And he went through these home foreclosures, the job losses, and he knows exactly what America's fighting for and what Trump is fighting for. Guys, you got to wake up, and you got to start trusting your fellow Americans. Just recently, Trump was shot at, an attempted assassination that absolutely failed, thank God. And everybody understands that what happened that day should have never happened. There's no excuse whatsoever. I don't care how much they investigate it. That shot should have never gotten off. Luckily, he survived. Sadly, there are Americans there that were brave enough to fight for our future that were killed. people who were injured fighting for us, for you, for our country. And we honor you today and forever. Thank you for being the brave Americans that you are, who believe in freedom, freedom of speech, and America. There is no one person responsible for all of the people heading to the Republican side trying to fight this corruption. They're not just going there to support Republicans. They're going there to support America, period. You have to have a place to go. And it really began when gay conservatives started this movement that got the ball rolling. You're not forgotten, Brandon Straka. The walk away movement. Finally, we have all people from all communities coming forth to say no more to the Democratic plantation lie factory. Asians for Trump, Latinos for Trump, blacks for Trump, whites for Trump, females for Trump, gays for Trump. It goes on and on. Anyone that's been Trump from the beginning knows how hard this fight has been, trying to convince our own brothers and sisters that you're on the wrong team. If you're not here with us, you're hurting yourself. But in America, you're free to vote as you wish. If you want to vote Democrat, you have that right. Just do not put that poison on us that we cannot vote for who we believe will make the better America we know we can be. We really need to start trusting in our elders. There's a reason why they say 40 and over is the time we get wise. There's a reason why most leaders were older. Not all the time older people are smarter, but in the majority, that's usually the case. Trust in your mother, your father, and your grandparents. Trust in each other, and let's make America great again.